Scientists have warned that if greenhouse gas emissions continue to rise, we will pass the threshold beyond which global warming becomes catastrophic and irreversible. That threshold is estimated as a temperature rise of 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, and on current emissions trajectories, we are heading for a rise of about 5 degrees Celsius. That may not sound like much, but the temperature difference between today's world and the last ice age was about 5 degrees Celsius, so seemingly small changes in temperature can mean big differences for the Earth.
Deadly effects to many places around the world. This global system of our Earth is having really a high temperature. So when your child is sick with the temperature, you have to take all medication and, if necessary, bring to doctors. This is what we have to do now. If I compare with our human body conditions, we have to first lower the temperature as you will do to your children. There should be no temperature, first of all. That is what we are doing. That requires a massive and urgent and immediate action. We have to mobilize all financial resources. I was very much encouraged when I convened the summit meeting on September 23rd. There were many business leaders, world-class business leaders. They pledged at least $200 billion for green economic development as well as climate-friendly investment.
How do we communicate such a complex issue as the threats of climate change, for example? And unless we are able to engage the mother, the grandmother, and the grandchild into understanding what is happening today, we won't succeed, because this very small privileged group of individuals cannot engage the large majority, that silent majority that needs to get involved. We don't learn from experience. How do we share knowledge, not only on successes, but also on failures, in order not to repeat and duplicate failures or successes of the past, but learn from them in order to avoid or replicate them?
Global negotiations on climate change have been carrying on for more than 20 years. Only in the past few decades have scientists begun the measurements necessary to establish a relationship between current carbon levels and temperatures, and the science conducted since then has consistently pointed in one direction: that rising greenhouse gas emissions arising from the use of fossil fuels and industries lead to higher temperatures.
We should keep it at zero. That is nothing at all, no increase, because you know our body temperatures. I started off as a biochemist, so I really know what the chemistry of the body is. Many of these enzymes are extremely sensitive to temperature changes. So are the organisms and things like that. So we should not be targeting above 2 degrees. We should target not above 0. No gain at all in temperatures. We should reverse it. We human beings, we have the capacity to reverse it. After all, what we are seeing today are all anthropogenic. So why can't we just curtail our lifestyle, the way we do things, and then try to really be conscious that if we do not change the way we do things, we will end up like the dinosaurs.
Experts have said that the commitments made and likely to be made by December will not by themselves be enough to hold the world to no more than 2 degrees Celsius of warming. In order to bolster these targets, 2 approaches have been suggested: that more effort should be made to bring down emissions outside the UN process, for instance by engaging non-state actors such as cities, local governments, and businesses to do more, and that the INDCs should be subject to regular review and ratcheting up in the years after the Paris meeting.
We are going to host the conference, we're going to chair it. The chairman will be our Minister of Foreign Affairs, Laurent Fabius. And as a chair, we have to remain neutral. We have sympathies, obviously. For instance, we have sympathies for African expectations because we are close to Africa. But we have to remain impartial and neutral. Negotiations are going on, and we should not interfere with them. This is why, for instance, we're not going to produce our own text. It would be a mistake. It happened in the past, and it proved to be a mistake, so we'll not do this. But we keep in constant touch with countries, with delegations, and with the two co-chairs of the negotiating group. And they ask for our advice. We give our advice. We also consult our parties. So we try and act as an honest broker or as a go-between in order to facilitate contacts. This is why we have organized several ministerial conferences, informal ministerial conferences, but those were not negotiating sessions. The idea was just to allow ministers to exchange views in a very informal manner. And we invited a number of countries, but those sessions were open-ended. That means that if a country had not been directly invited but was interested, it would be welcome. And we did that with the present presidency of COP, which is still Peru, since the Lima COP. And we have done that together, and every time we have issued reports that are available for everybody, for all delegations, and so that there's a fair treatment of each delegation of each country. And we think that those informal exchanges have been quite useful and have helped facilitate discussions.
The other key question apart from emissions reduction is finance. Poorer countries want the rich world to provide them with financial help that will enable them to invest in clean technology to cut their greenhouse gas emissions and to adapt their infrastructure to the likely damage from climate change. Poor nations want a similar provision in place beyond 2020, but there is a strong disagreement over how this should be done. Some want all the money to come from rich country governments, or those governments are adamant that they will not provide such funding solely from the public purse. They want international development banks, such as the World Bank, to play a role. We have been told that if nations can meet and agree equitable goals on the climate, on economic development, on social and environmental issues, and do so in a spirit of cooperation, it will be a huge achievement for all of us. That's all we have time for today on the program. Thank you for being a part of it. I'm Ayola Kasim, asking you to join us next week when we open a file on another issue affecting your world. Bye for now.